welcome to week 2 of Herbs from the Ground Up, or Herbs for Health, whichever way you want to look at it. And my guest is EagleSong Gardener, who has been working and playing with herbs for the last 40 years and gives classes and mentorships and all sorts of wonderful things where she works with herbs at her research property in Monroe, Washington. And last week we learned about dandelion. And of course, I have to joke and say it was just dandy. And this week we're going to be talking about nettle. So let's go on over to EagleSong's place and find out what she can tell us about nettle. Hello again, and welcome to week 2 of our herbal series. And I just wanted to say, because I have to make a bad joke, is last week was just dandy.
Right. Well, today going to nettle you.
That's right. I was waiting for that. So this week we're going to talk about nettles. So tell us all about nettles. Take it away.
All right. Hey, so EagleSong here, and I am introducing nettle, Urtica dioica, today. Nettle is an herb that's abundant in the Northwest where I live. But again, this is an herb that goes all around the globe at this latitude. So everywhere people use nettle, and it's the old women who would go out and harvest these herbs on a daily basis and bring them home for the people to eat. That was a special job for the older women because they could go out with their baskets, they could harvest the nettle, it kept them moving. It's an incredibly benevolent way to keep elders in the community active and doing something that nourishes everybody. So nettle is an amazing herb for teaching us about the weaving together of our world and how she lives in nature. So I always love to start with, how does the plant live in nature? What is her nature, so to speak?
Right.
And once you understand that plants have natures, you start to see the people around you also have natures. So I've been picking nettle. Well, if we count the year I was in my mom, I'm 70.
Okay.
And so I love that I have the capacity to say I've been picking nettles for 50 years, almost every year.
Right.
And so what is the nettle? Urtica dioica. This is a plant that grows under, where I live, it loves to grow under maple, the big leaf maple trees. And so you can always tell, it's, first of all, she stings. Called stinging nettle, or sister spinster, some folks call her. And there are little tiny hairs. I don't know if you can see the hairs on your side, but on the stems it's easier to see them. And so those little hairs are actually like glass, and they're like a hypodermic needle. When you touch this onto your skin, if you brush up against the nettle, they actually eject into you formic acid, which is the same chemical that red ants inject to you when you get bit by an ant. So the plants have ways to protect themselves. Remember, the dandelion was deep-rooted. Everything could come and eat it, and never bothered that plant because she knew she was well-grounded, which is also what you will get when you use dandelion. Nettle's not that way. Her roots, these are the fresh roots of the nettle, actually travel along the surface of the ground. They do not go deep. And so it's very easy to harvest them. They just pull out. But actually, in 50 years of harvesting, this is my first year of harvesting nettle root.
Oh, okay.
I was never inclined to harvest the root, but this year we had to move a compost bin, and there had been nettle growing all around it, and so rich, beautiful roots. And so we just pulled the root, and now we have this fantastic dried nettle root. This is the fresh nettle root. And again, you can see those fibrous root hairs. These are cedar roots, and these are the things that bring the nutrient in. But because she is highly nutritious and not deeply rooted, nature created stinging as the method of keeping people away. So you could call it chemical warfare.
Right.
I just call it self-protection.
Yeah, it's protecting itself. Yeah.
Yeah, so when we understand people are like nettly,
Right.
stingy kind of people.
Yeah.
Actually, they're protecting something inside themselves. And so when we think about it that way, we try to find different approaches if we actually want to get to know that person.
Right.
Most of us have amazing special gifts inside.
Right.
And so I like to get to know people who are a little nettly, myself included.
And we can all be nettly sometimes, you know. It may not be our primary thing, but we all have situations where we're that way. Yep.
It's a very good defense. Yep. Very good for helping. Actually, your nettly nature is part of your immune nature. It helps you to learning to use our nature so that we actually end up getting what we want in the world, not using it to keep people away if what we really want is closeness. So really understanding nature and how to use our natures and the nature of nature is it's a lifetime journey. It just takes forever to come to these things. And so I actually like to introduce people to you all to one of my first herb teachers was Juliette de Berkeley-Levy. And Juliette really gave me confidence that I could do this. I could learn herbs on my own. And one time I loaned this book to a friend and she said, I can't believe she said it, but could you underline all the plants that grow around here?
Oh.
And so I took the book and I thumbed through it and I realized they all grow here. So it's a great book for this latitude and for the Northwest,
right?
Especially. And Juliette brings the herbs to people in a very simple way. She traveled with the Bedouin Arabs and the Gypsies. That's where she gained her information about herbs. And so she uses very interesting measurements like handsful. Cups or other kinds of measures, and things like fill the jar, then fill it again. Very simple, because these people don't have measuring cups, and they don't think that way.
Right.
They think in fullness, and they think in the capacity to weave their culture together with these plants, because they're woven together.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I love the Gypsies. Yeah, we'll talk about the Gypsies some other day, but right now, Nettle. This is how you would go out to get nettle if you were going to have it for dinner. Now, this is actually a great dinner. And my favorite way to do the nettle to me is way more nutritive. I don't tincture it. I do put it in vinegar, just like we did the dandelion root. Right. Fill the jar with chopped nettle, add the vinegar, and then let that steep for a month. And then I do take the nettle out. Okay. And just use plain vinegar. So, but this way, I come home with this beautiful, I just harvested out behind the barn this morning, and these will be chopped up and steamed in a bit of water, a small bit of water. And then what my children, I have two sons, and what they loved in the spring, because they're hungry for green. If you really eat in the seasons, you know, you're really tired of beets and cabbage and potatoes, and as soon as kids always knew when the nettle came up, they would come running in. The nettles are up, and it was like awesome. The nettles are up means we're going to eat some green food, and that's going to get the body moving again. Right. And so I would steam the nettles in a saucepan, cook a pot of brown rice, and then we would poach eggs because, of course, eggs are really abundant right now at this season. So we'd poach eggs in the nettle juice, and that turns the eggs green, and the kids actually really love that. Green the nettles, we called it. So then in a bowl, the rice goes in, the nettles go on, the egg that's poached goes on top, and then all that broth is poured onto that bowl. That's about as simple as it. And that is the deepest, most satisfying, nourishing dish every year. I totally love when the nettles come on and we can do green eggs and nettles. And then I like to put a condiment on with toasted sesame and salt that's ground up.
So let me ask a question.
Yeah.
So because the nettles are nettly and they prick and everything, how does that work when you eat them? And you're touching them, you're doing all this. Are you getting poked this whole time, and does that go away?
Great question. Actually, at some points in time, the nettles have been used as what's called urtication. which is a way to create blood flow to the surface, and that helps to move energy.
Right. Okay.
It brings energy, and that brings blood, and that helps the body move stagnation away. So anytime there's stiffness, or the Romans are said to have spread nettle all over Europe because the soldiers would take the seed and drop it everywhere so that there would always be nettle so that they could do the urtication because they had hard life and their bodies suffered from it.
Yeah.
And so that's so, and I don't know, I wasn't there, but that's how you can eat nettle fresh, and it's so delicious. Now we dry the nettle. Here we have a bowl of dried nettle.
Okay.
So all the top, we harvest, eat as much as we can while we're harvesting, and then we dry the extra. So every day we eat nettles. I try to dry 2 times more than that for winter keeping. In the wintertime, we use nettle by making a nourishing herbal infusion.
Okay.
What Juliet called a standard brew. Now this one, it does take, you do need a scale to do this properly. So 1 ounce of nettle in a 1 quart heat-proof jar, like a canning jar. Put the dried nettle, it has to be dry, you can't use fresh. And that's because osmosis is going to pull more out of the nettle if it's dry. If it's fresh, 2 wet sponges together, nothing happens. Dry and wet make it work better. So 1 ounce herb, 1 quart boiling water, pour the boiling water over, cap it, and let it steep 4 to 8 hours. What we're doing is we're bringing the minerals and protein into water, into the solution. Water is the universal solvent. This means that water is the best way to dissolve anything to bring it into your body. So this is super nutrition. It's why I don't waste time making nettle tincture, because what I really want is the nutritive value of this herb.
Right.
And so so then nettle can be used, the dried leaf can be crunched up and added to soups and stews and things all winter long. It can be crunched up and added to gamasio, is the toasted sesame seed.
Okay.
And oftentimes we will powder nettle and add that to the sesame salt mix.
Right.
So it gets putting on all of the
things. Yeah.
Really a nice taste. It's as close to eating bacon as you can get without eating bacon.
Really? Tastes like bacon, huh?
It has that taste that makes bacon so want more. It's got the same kind of a taste. It's toasted, it's rich in oil, and the sesame is high in calcium, so it's excellent as a nutritive addition to your diet.
Interesting.
Isn't it? It's so fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to say one more thing about nettle,
the
plant. This is nettle seed. This was harvested in September, but anywhere from late July on through September, when the nettle plants are seeding, you can actually harvest the seed, and it's an amazing adrenal restorative. So probably the best thing is not to use things that destroy your adrenals.
Right. In the first place. Yeah.
You can add nettle seed to your cooking. Again, a teaspoon in a soup or a stew. We actually love it in oatmeal. Cook old-fashioned oats with seaweed and nettle seed. Every time I eat it, I think of my Scots ancestors, that somehow I'm with them.
Right.
I don't know. And it's just a really satisfying meal for breakfast. But nettle has even more than that. We've got all this amazing nourishing, makes fantastic fiber.
Really?
Now, the native people in this part of the world, every time the tide went out, their table was set. They had tons of protein, so they were not looking for plants that were proteinaceous. They wanted the fish. So they actually would make nets out of the nettle for catching things and carrying things. And for them, nettle was a craft material that helped them to be able to hold things together, trap things, catch things. and
So
like that.
so how do you do that? I mean, that's the stems that you take and dry, or what is that?
You let it go all year. The growth has to go all year long. So you can do your nettle seed and your nettle fiber off the same plant. But if you pick it at the beginning of the year to make food, it destroys the capacity for it to be a fiber plant.
Okay, all right. So you have to choose.
Yeah, you have to choose. I have a friend who's a really good crafter, makes great cordage, and she will never tell me where her nettle patches are because she eat it. So it's really great. So then the fiber is retted. It's like you have to get the fibers, the long fibers, out of the stalk. It's a big process.
Sounds like it.
And then it's rolled. Like you can roll it on your leg or to create cordage. We're actually going to do a nettle field day, and in that field day, which is going to be now online, we will be talking about nettle cordage and showing demonstration how to do it.
Good.
And this is another thing that nettle's been used for over time. This is actually one of our apprentices one year she made the cordage, and she also, this was her final project, she made nettle paper.
Oh, wow. How pretty.
I know, it's so beautiful. Yeah. It's got a leaf in it, and it's just, it makes a really, really great fibery paper.
Yeah, how interesting. Wow.
So when we
Who knew?
Yeah, right? Our grandmothers knew. And
exactly, yep.
And we've become lulled into this convenience world. And yet these were crafts that people knew how to do. It didn't take them forever to do them because they actually knew. Every time I'm giving death to a chicken or a rabbit, because we eat the food that we grow here, I always hear my grandmothers laughing at me. Not in a bad way, but they say, how could they have forgotten such simple things?
Right, yes. But we've gotten away from the simplicity, and I think some of that is coming back. I do. I think people are wanting that.
Starving for it. They're very interested. Right. And it's fun to see because it brings our physical part of us back into the picture.
The physicality, absolutely. Yeah, and it bonds us further with whether we're eating something or using something. If you're involved in growing or creating it or doing something with it, it just means more than if you just run down to the store and buy it.
It really connects you to place. It really connects you to yourself.
Right.
And I think this is the medicine of the future, is to remember these skills. I don't think we're going to be making our own paper.
No.
But who knows? We may. And so these are the things that I think are really important about learning the herbs and learning them from the ground up.
Right, exactly.
Because it really brings us home. And oddly enough, in this time, which is going to date this video thing that you could use at any time, but the truth is everybody's been sent home.
Right.
And so I take that as a grand advantage.
Right.
A benevolent virus, you could say, sent everybody home. Now look at your home.
Right.
Look at what's around you. Think about how you can make it more generative.
Right. And I think a lot of people are finding they're what?
Sustainable is not enough. To sustain what we have now is not enough. Right. We have to go to the next level, which is to be generative. We have to make something out of nothing.
Right. And I think a lot of people are being forced to look at their home in the sense of, do they really want to be there? Because I'm hearing so much about people, they're bored, they have to get out, they can't go here and there, which for me and you, we're like, what? Big question mark. But it's real for them. And it's because they've been so outer focused that, to them, the home was where you came at night, you watched some TV, drank a few beers, went to bed, and then left the next day, right? And so a lot of them are now being forced to really look at their home and their family in a new way. And that's a good thing.
I think it is, and you're right, though. We still have to have the compassion to actually recognize for them it's going to be hard at first.
Right, absolutely.
Nobody knows how long it will go. Maybe we'll look back at this and kind of laugh at ourselves. But for right now, we really do need to take a look. And it's great. You can go to the park. You can go to a field if you're close to one, and you can nettle. or you can harvest dandelion.
Yeah.
Just 6 feet away from your friends.
Yeah, which is great. Exactly. Just keep your distance.
Take your kids. If you're crazy, take them outside and give them a shovel.
Yeah, let them pick the nettle and the
And
dandelions.
really, the truth is, again, we started out with cultures that were woven together.
Right.
You know, we have layered ourselves by age, and I'm hoping we begin to weave ourselves together again, and we're not separated by age like we are right now.
Which would be nice. Well, we've come to the end of our time. Thank you very much for the nettle information. And if people want to know more, they should go to your website, which is
EagleSong-Gardener.com.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much. And we'll get together next week. And next week, let's see, are we talking about comfrey? Is that right? Next week?
Oh, comfrey. That'll be another good one.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. See you then. Have a great week. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Bye now.
Bye.